To create my own directory, I'm going to use the command mkdir. That is nothing but make directory. If I want to interact with the computer system, then I must have operating system. It may be Linux operating system, Unix operating system, or Windows operating system. When I press the power button, the system starts booting. So here booting is the process of starting a computer. So dear student, a warm welcome to my new session on fundamentals of computers, and the chapter name here is Unix operating system. I am Revati from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, in my today's session, I am going to deal with Unix operating system. Before that, let me to recall the topics which I have covered in my last session. So dear student, I have covered operating system, that is what is operating system. Along with that, I have covered functions of operating system. Along with that, I have discussed types of operating system. So dear student, from the examination point of view, all 3 points are very, very important. So what is an operating system here? It is nothing but the example for system software, and it provides interface between computer user and computer hardware. Then talking about functions of operating system, what are the functions carried out by the operating system? That is memory management, file management, process management, device management, security management. All those things are carried out by the operating system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with type of operating system. So what are the different types of operating system? We are going to have single user operating system, multi-user operating system, multi-programming operating system, multitasking operating system, batch operating system, real-time operating system, distributed operating system. These are the type of an operating system. But in my today's session, at the beginning, I'm going to deal with operating system, that is Unix operating system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with basic commands of Unix operating system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with booting in operating system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with type of operating system. So dear student, what are you waiting for? Anyway, today's topic is very, very important as well as very, very interesting topic, that is Unix operating system. So dear student, as we know, what is an operating system? So what is operating system here? That is nothing but its example for system software, and it provides interface between application program as well as computer hardware. Now, if I consider operating system, then example for operating system, I can able to have Windows operating system. That is nothing but all the flavors of Windows operating system. Along with that, Unix operating system and Linux operating system. And if I consider Windows operating system, that is the example for graphical user interface. That means it provides good and very attractive working environment to the user. So that means it provides graphical user interface to the user. But what about Linux operating system? So this is also an operating system, but it is mainly based on command user interpreter. That means to interact, or if I want to interact with the Unix operating system, then I must have to remember the commands. So through the commands, I can able to interact with the Unix operating system. So the Unix operating system is a set of program or set of instruction that acts link or interface between computer and the user. So it acts as a link or interface between computer and user. Suppose if I want to interact with the computer system, then I must have operating system. It may be Linux operating system, Unix operating system, or Windows operating system. So the computer programs that allocates the system resource and coordinates all the details of the computer's internal is called operating system or kernel. Now, if I consider Unix operating system, the heart of the Unix operating system is kernel. Now, it is a computer program or it's nothing but a set of instruction that is responsible for allocating all the system resource. So what are the system resource I can able to have here? That is memory, processor, then I can able to have devices, etc. So these are the example for system resource, and at the same time it is going to coordinate all the details of the computer's internals is called operating system or kernel. So here it's mainly used to allocate all the computer resources as well as responsible for coordinating with the computer system, and this is the job of the kernel. So here user communicates with the kernel. That means in Unix operating system, suppose if the user want to communicate with the kernel or Unix operating system, how they are going to communicate? Through the cell. Users are going to give the instruction or commands. So here users communicates with the kernel only through a program, and it is known as shell. That means whatever the program I'm going to write to the cell is known as cell programming. The cell is a command line interpreter. So here cell is nothing but the command line interpreter. It is responsible for translating commands entered by the user and converts them into a language that is understood by the kernel. Suppose, dear student, if I want to interact with the Unix operating system, then I required or I want to remember all the commands. And where I'm going to write all the commands? In my cell. So here cell is nothing but the command line interpreter. It is responsible for translating the commands into kernel understandable form. So here in my Unix operating system, I'm going to use the command to interact with the operating system. So here the Unix was developed in the year 1969 by Ken Thomas and Dennis Ritchie, and were at the Bell Laboratory. So there are various varieties of Unix operating systems are available. That is, I have Unix operating systems like Solaris Unix operating system, AIX Unix operating system, HP Unix operating system, as well as BSD operating systems are the different flavors or varieties of an Unix operating system, and these are freely available software. That means to buy this software. I does not want to pay the money. These softwares are freely available. For that reason, it is called open source software. So it is called open source software. And several people can able to use Unix computer at a same time. So this is the example for multi-user operating system. That means multiple user can able to communicate with the Unix operating system. So it is called multi-user operating system. A user can also run multiple programs at a time. That means while preparing documentation, I can able to listen to the music. So here I'm going to perform two tasks at a same time. For that reason, it is called multitasking environment. So here user can able to run multiple programs at the same time. Hence, it is called multitasking environment. Moving further, I'm going to have some basic commands of Unix. So dear student, as I told, I'm going to use this shell. So what is this shell program or what is this shell? Nothing but the command line interpreter. So it is going to execute the commands one line at a time, because suppose if I want to interact with the Unix operating system, then I must know the commands. With the help of commands, I can able to interact with the Unix operating system. So here at the beginning, I'm going to have the basic Unix command is Unix directory and managing command. Suppose if I want to create any directory or if I want to manage any directory, what are the commands I want to remember? That is cd. So at the beginning, to create directory or to change directory, I'm going to use cd. That means think that I am in root directory. From this root directory, I want to change the directory called rev. So in that time, I can able to write cd rev. Now, suppose if I want to confirm the current password, for that time, I can go with the command called pwd. So that is confirm current directory. Now, ln. Suppose if I want to make link as well as symbolic link to the files and directories, then I can able to go with the command ln. Anyway, dear student, I won't go in depth because according to the necessity, I'm going to explain the basic commands of Unix. So these are some of the basic commands. When I want to provide a link or symbolic link between files as well as directories, I'm going to use ln command. And to create my own directory, I'm going to use the command mkdir. That is nothing but make directory. So once I create any directory, after that, suppose if I want to change the directory, then cd directory name. For example, think that I want to create Revati directory. I want to create Revati directory. So what I will do, mkdir. So I'm going to create the directory. After creating, I want to change the directory. For that, cd change directory Revati. Okay. Now, think that I want to remove this directory. Think that I am in present working directory, that is Revati, and I want to remove that directory. To remove that directory, what I want to do? I want to go one step back. That is cd dot dot. Now, think that I am under root directory. Now, I want to remove Revati directory. For that, I am going to have the command rm, that is remove directory Revati, and press enter key. So, to remove the directory, I am going to have rmdir. Now, I am going to have my another command, that is text command. Suppose if I want to concatenate any file and I want to show the content of that file, then I can able to use the command called cat. Concatenate and display the output. Now head. So this is also a command used to show first 10 lines. Think that in my program I have 100 lines and I just want to display only 10 lines. In that time I can go with head. Now I just want to display the below 10 lines. In that time I can able to go with the tile. That means shows the last 10 lines of text file. For example, I have file called rev and it is text file. I'll write txt and in that I have 50 lines. Okay, first I want to display first 10 lines. For that, what I will do, I'm going to use head command. Now think that I want to display last 10 lines. For that, I'm going to use the command called tile. Now, I'm going to have the file operation command. So, to list all the files which is stored in the current working directory or present working directory. So, it is ls. It is responsible for long listing all the files, all the directories which is present in that present working directory. So, ls means what? List file and directories. And what is cp? Suppose if I want to copy the content of one file to another file, in that time I can able to go with cp or copy file. Now, if I want to remove any file, to remove the file, here I have the command rm. And to rename any file, I can able to use mv. There is nothing but move or rename files and directories to the another location. Suppose if I want to change the mode of operation or if I want to change the permission mode, then I can go with ch mode. So I can have ch mode and 777 and I want to specify the file name. That means I'm going to change the permission. So I'm going to give read, write, execution permission to the user, group and owner. So here 37 indicates that I'm going to give all the permission to user, owner as well as group. So to set the permission, I can able to have ch mode. Now I have ch own. Okay, to change the ownership of a file or to change the directory ownership, I can able to have change owner. That is ch own. Now, I'm going to have time and date command. To get the present date and time, I can able to have the command that is date and time command. So date used to display the current date as well as time. Then what is sleep? Think that some processes are running. Now I want to make that process to sleep for certain minute or certain time. Now I want to specify the time. So here I'm going to use the command sleep. So wait for a given number of seconds. I'm going to halt the execution for time being, and I'm going to make the process to wait. And uptime. So what is this uptime? To find out how long the system has been up. So I want to find out how long the system is going to be up. These are the example for basic commands. Now I'm going to have booting in operating system. Now, dear student, if I tell you to turn on the computer's system, then what you're going to do? You're going to press the power button. And when I press the power button, the system starts booting. So, here booting is the process of starting a computer. So, what is booting here? That is nothing but starting a computer system. There is nothing but process of starting a computer system. And it is initiated by hardware such as button press or by software command. So here I can able to start the booting by using as well as through the commands. After it is switched on, once the computer is switched on, a CPU has no software in its main memory. Okay, once the system is switched on, then the CPU does not have any software in his memory. Now, so some process must be load the software. Once the system is started, now CPU does not have any software in his main memory. Now I required some process to load the software into memory before execution. And this process is done by the hardware or firmware. So who is responsible for loading the software to the computer memory? That is hardware or by a firmware. In the CPU or by a separated process in the computer system. Now, restarting a computer is also called rebooting. Okay, during the execution, if the system get started hanging, what is the next step? I'm going to press reboot button. That means I'm going to restart the system. That is done by using rebooting, which can be hard. After electrical power to the CPU is switched from off to on, that is soft, where the power is not cut. That means in booting, I'm going to have soft booting as well as hard booting. On some system, a soft boot, any optionally clear RAM to 0. That means if I consider some operating system and when I go with soft booting, it is optionally going to clear the random access memory content. For that reason, it is called volatile. That is temporary memory. And hard and soft booting can be initialized by hardware. So, who is responsible for initializing soft booting as well as hard booting? That is none other than hardware, such as a button press or through some software commands. Now, dear student, I'm going to have cold booting as well as warm booting. Now, what is cold booting here? When the computer starts from the first time. Okay, think that when I start the computer at the first time or is in a shutdown state, that means the system is turned off. Now I'm going to press the button to start on the computer system. So switch on the power button to start the system, and this type of processing is called cold booting. So think that, okay, my laptop is turned off. Now I'm going to press the power button, and when I press the power button, the actual booting process is going to start. So this type of booting itself called cold booting. So here, during cold booting, the system will read all the instructions from the ROM. So dear student, as I discussed, all the boot up programs are stored in the read-only memory. And when I press start button, that is nothing but the power on button, now the system is going to read all the programs as well as instruction from the read-only memory, that is nothing but BIOS, and the operating system will be automatically loaded into the system. So, to start my computer system, whatever the program I required, that is stored in the read-only memory. And when I press the start button, now it is responsible for loading all the instruction along with the operating system. And dear student, this kind of booting is going to take more time than hot boot or warm booting. Now dear student, I'm going to have my second type of booting, that is warm booting. So what is warm booting or hot booting? It is a process when computer system becomes to no response or hang state. Okay, during execution of the program, the computer may get started hanging. Okay, now then the system is allowed to restart. During the execution of the program, the system may start hanging. So what I will do? I'm going to press the button, that is restart button, to reboot or restart the computer system, and that is known as warm booting. It's also known as rebooting. Now, there are many reasons for this state, and the only solution is to reboot the computer system. Dear student, when my computer system started hanging, what I will do? I'm going to restart the computer system. That is itself known as rebooting or warm booting. And rebooting may be required when we install new software or hardware. Okay, dear student, think that I'm going to install some software as well as hardware. So dear student, once I done with my installation procedure, I just want to restart the computer system. That is known as warm booting. Now the system requires a reboot to set software and hardware configuration changes, and sometimes system behave abnormally or may not respond properly. So dear student, once the installation is over, now what I want to do, I just want to restart the computer because I just want the normal execution. To get the normal flow of execution, I just want to restart the computer system. So in such case, the system has to force restart. In that time, what I am going to do, I am just going to restart the computer system. And most commonly, I am going to use the shortcut, that is Control plus Alt plus Del. That means I am going to press Control Alt Delete button together to restart the computer system. In some system, the external reset button may be available. In some computer system, I can able to have external restart button. If I have external restart button, then I can able to press that button. If I don't have any external restart button, then I can able to go with the shortcut, that is I just want to press Control Alt Delete key together in order to restart or reboot the system. So dear student, please remember the difference here. The normal booting is known as cold boot, whereas restart, forceful restart or reboot is known as warm booting. Now dear student, in my next session, I am going to deal with new unit called database management system. Until that, dear student, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.